The rain started just before midnight, the kind that turned city lights into blurred streaks across the windows of the towering glass building. Inside the silent headquarters of Arden Global Technologies, the only sound was the soft squeak of a mop against polished marble floors. Daniel Ruiz pushed his cleaning cart slowly down the hallway, humming under his breath. It had been a long day, well, a long life, if he was being honest. Just 2 years earlier, Daniel had been a chef at a small neighborhood diner in Chicago. Nothing fancy, but he loved cooking. Then the diner closed. His wife passed away after a sudden illness, and Daniel found himself raising his 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, alone. Bills piled up. Dreams shrank. And eventually, the only job he could get was the night janitor position at Arden Global. It didn't matter to Sophia. To her, her dad was still the man who made the best pancakes in the world. Daniel paused outside a large office overlooking the stormy skyline. The lights were still on. That was unusual. The CEO's office was usually empty by sunset. Employees joked that the man who owned the entire company was almost never there, the Silent Billionaire. Daniel didn't know much about him, but everyone in the building knew the name. Victor Arden, a self-made tech mogul worth billions, famous for his quiet personality, rare public appearances, and a reputation for making impossible decisions that somehow always worked. Daniel wiped the glass door absent-mindedly, but as he turned to leave, he heard something strange. A voice. Not talking. Struggling. Daniel frowned. He pushed the door open slightly. Inside, the office lights glowed softly over a massive desk. Papers were scattered everywhere, and near the window stood a tall man gripping the edge of a chair as if trying to stay upright. Victor Arden, and he looked like he was about to collapse. "Sir?" Daniel stepped inside quickly. "Are you okay?" Victor's face was pale. Sweat ran down his temple. His expensive suit jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, tie loosened. But what caught Daniel's attention most wasn't the man's wealth or status. It was the fear in his eyes. Victor struggled to speak. His voice was hoarse. "I need help." Daniel rushed forward. "Sit down," he said, guiding him into the chair. Victor sank heavily into it, breathing unevenly. "Should I call an ambulance?" Victor shook his head quickly. "No hospitals." Daniel blinked. "Sir, you look like you might pass out." Victor closed his eyes, pressing a hand against his chest, not like a heart attack, but like someone overwhelmed. "It's not that," he said quietly. "I just haven't eaten." Daniel stared at him. "You haven't eaten?" Victor let out a dry laugh that sounded more like exhaustion. "Not properly. 3 days." Daniel's brain struggled to process that. 3 days. This man owned private jets, luxury homes, and a company with 30,000 employees, and he hadn't eaten. "Why?" Daniel asked gently. Victor rubbed his face. "My sister is in the hospital," he said quietly. "She raised me. She's in surgery tonight. I've been here trying to finish a deal that could save the company. Investors, pressure, lawyers. I forgot about food." Daniel leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." Victor looked up in surprise. Most people were terrified of him. This janitor clearly wasn't. "You're running one of the biggest companies in the country," Daniel continued. "But you forgot to eat?" Victor gave a tired smile. "Apparently." Daniel sighed. "Wait here." Victor blinked. "Where are you going?" Daniel grabbed his cleaning cart. "To fix your problem." 20 minutes later, Daniel returned carrying something that filled the entire office with a warm, comforting smell. Food. Not takeout. Real food. He set a small portable burner on the coffee table, pulled out a pan, and began cooking. Victor watched in confusion. "Is that garlic?" "And butter," Daniel said casually. Soon the scent grew richer. Chicken sizzling, fresh herbs, lemon, steam rising from rice warming in another pan. Victor stared like a starving man watching magic. "You carry a kitchen in your janitor cart?" Daniel shrugged. "Single dad trick. My daughter hates cafeteria food. I cook between shifts sometimes." 10 minutes later, Daniel placed a plate in front of the billionaire CEO. Simple food. Lemon garlic chicken, fluffy rice, steamed vegetables. Victor looked at it silently. "Eat," Daniel said. Victor took the first bite slowly. Then another, and another. Within minutes, he was eating like someone who had been stranded on an island. Daniel leaned back, smiling faintly. Good? Victor nodded, mouth full. This is incredible. When he finished, Victor sat back, something in his expression changing. For the first time that night, he looked human again. Not a billionaire, just a tired man. Thank you, he said quietly. Daniel waved it off. Food fixes a lot of things. Victor studied him carefully. What's your name? Daniel. You're the night janitor? Yep. Victor leaned forward. You cook like a professional chef. Daniel chuckled. Used to be. Why aren't you anymore? Daniel shrugged. Life. Victor didn't push further. But something in his mind clicked. Daniel, he said slowly. Can I ask you something strange? Sure. Victor hesitated. Then he did something no one in the company had ever seen before. The billionaire CEO looked at a janitor with genuine desperation. I need help. Daniel raised an eyebrow. With what? Victor pulled a folder from the desk and placed it on the table. Inside were charts, restaurant layouts, and business plans. I'm about to launch a new division of Arden Global, Victor explained. A chain of affordable, healthy restaurants in cities where people work long hours and eat terrible food. Daniel flipped through the pages. This looks expensive. It is. So what's the problem? And every dish tastes like cardboard. Daniel laughed. Victor didn't. I'm serious. Daniel studied him. You want me to help fix the menu? Victor nodded slowly. Yes. Daniel blinked. You're asking the janitor? Victor leaned back. No, he said calmly. I'm asking the man who just cooked the best meal I've had in years. Daniel stared at the billionaire. Then he laughed. You're crazy. Victor smiled slightly. Probably. Daniel looked down at the plans again. Then at Victor. All right, he said. What do you want me to do? 3 weeks later, something strange started happening at Arden Global. The CEO was spending hours in the company's test kitchen, and the night janitor was standing beside him. Daniel tasted soups, adjusted spices, rejected entire dishes. No one wants quinoa meatloaf, he said at one point. Victor laughed. Consultants were stunned. Executives whispered. But Victor didn't care. Because for the first time, the food actually tasted good. 6 months later, the first restaurant opened in downtown Chicago. Lines wrapped around the block. Affordable, healthy, comfort food made with heart. The brand exploded. Within 2 years, there were 200 locations across the country, and every single menu still carried one small line at the bottom. Recipes created by Daniel Ruiz, the former janitor, the single dad. On opening night of the 100th restaurant, Victor stood on stage giving a rare speech. The crowd of employees, chefs, and reporters waited quietly. Victor cleared his throat. 2 years ago, he began, I was the richest man in this room. He paused. But I was also the hungriest. The crowd chuckled softly. Victor gestured toward Daniel standing near the back with his daughter Sophia. A janitor fed me that night, Victor said. Not just with food, but with something I had forgotten. He paused again. Human kindness? The room fell silent. Victor raised a glass. Sometimes the person who changes your life isn't the one with the most money. He looked directly at Daniel. It's the one with the biggest heart. The entire room stood and applauded. Sophia tugged on her father's sleeve. Dad, she whispered. Daniel looked down.